Hi everybody, this is Bill Knutson, and you're listening to the Sportsocology Show. It's Saturday, July 26th, 2014. I appreciate you joining me, thanks, and let me get right into business. The first thing I want to talk about is something I didn't know whether to laugh, which I think I did, or just kind of shake my head in disbelief when I heard the quarterback of the New York Jets, Geno Smith, who is universally ranked number 32 out of the 32 starting quarterbacks, so obviously that's worst by the experts, all the people that know. And for some reason, I don't think he believes that he is the worst. I happen to think he's the worst. I'm not claiming to be an expert, but that's what the experts are saying. And he comes out and says, well, I'm just going to have to prove them wrong, which obviously I have no problem with that. That's exactly what he should do in terms of doing his best, proving, that he's not the worst, not to the coaches or, writers or, whomever voted for him last, but he should be doing that to prove that to the Jets organization, his teammates, fans. That's who he should be doing it for. But nonetheless, he should be working his butt off to prove he's not the worst quarterback in football. Okay, so I'm with him on that. But then he goes out and says, by the end of this coming season, he'll be in the top 5. Now, that is so off the chart crazy. I don't even know what the words are, and I'm a pretty educated guy, and I can't even think of the words of how ridiculously stupid that is. I mean, I admire, in one way, I admire his confidence, but really, I mean, you're just setting yourself up to just look so ridiculously dumb with that statement. But, that was a quick note I wanted to say. I mean, there is absolutely no way that he will be anywhere near the top 5 in any positive categories this coming season. He probably will be in the bottom 5 in quarterback rating, turnovers, completion percentage. I believe that. But one of the top 5 quarterbacks? Yeah, I don't think so. So does he really think he's going to be better or in the same group with Peyton Manning and Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady? Really? You're going to be in the group with those guys? Let alone guys that are a notch below that, the Ben Roethlisbergers, Russell Wilson, Colin Kaepernick. Obviously got all guys that are far superior to Geno Smith. Geno Smith will never be anywhere near what those guys are, but I kind of laughed and shook my head when I heard that he thought he would go from 32 into the top 5 after this season. No, I don't think so. And I'm not even sure if he's going to be the starting quarterback. I think Michael Vick is going to give him a challenge. Right now, Geno Smith has the edge from everything I'm hearing. But who knows? If he 3, 4, 5 games into the season is pretty stinky like he was last year, I think the tough New York Jets fans, and I know how those fans are growing up in New York, they're going to be calling for Geno Smith's head and calling for Vic to take over. But please, Geno, just concentrate on playing football. Stop talking, because every time that people hear you talk publicly, you put your foot in your mouth. So pull your foot out of your mouth, stay quiet, and just concentrate on playing football. Try not to be the worst quarterback in the league, let alone thinking you're going to be one of the best after this season. Anyway, sticking with the NFL, going to Ray Rice, the Baltimore Ravens. As I'm sure you remember, he had that big incident in Atlantic City with his then fiance, who is now his wife. Everything that I hear, again, I wasn't in the elevator with them, but everything I'm hearing, there was some sort of physical altercation, which right away, I'm a married man, would never even cross my mind to physically harm my wife. That is ridiculous. No man would ever do that. And you're going to tell me, even if she started the physical confrontation, which I hear did happen, the man's an NFL running back. He's like 5'9" and 200 and something pounds, or whatever he is. He's literally twice the size of this woman. I don't give a crap if she hit him first or she started the physical altercation. Excuse me. You're going to tell me he couldn't stop her from harming him without literally knocking her unconscious? And then what we see when the door opens is he's dragging her out, and she appears to be unconscious on the floor of the elevator, and he like drags her out of the elevator and all of this nonsense. Are you crazy? This is ridiculous. I mean, to do that to a woman, I don't care if she's crazy and she started it. I'm not saying she did, I don't know, but these are the things I've been hearing since it happened. I don't care what the reason is. The reasons are: you don't hit a woman, you don't knock her unconscious, a woman you supposedly love, you're engaged to, and start dragging her out. You're in a casino. Every 2 inches in a casino there are cameras. You can't hide from the cameras. So not only is he violent, he's also stupid, doing all of this. So the point to everything I'm bringing up is he just got a 2-game suspension, which is a joke, because that's not really sending a really, really tough message that the NFL is not going to put up with any sort of domestic violence. I would have said minimum half the season, which is 8 games, of course. And even better than that, you're out for the entire 2014 season. So it would send a strong message to any of these other ignorant knuckleheads who want to go around being stupid, beating up on girlfriends, fiancés, wives, whatever. We hear way too much of that in sports, and certainly it's not everybody. But it would send a really strong message. You put your hands on your wife in a negative fashion, and I'm going to lower a ton of bricks on you. But a 2-game suspension, it's basically nothing. I mean, he's still going to play 14 games, and any playoffs, if they make it, still going to make a few $1 million. That's not really sending a message of any kind. And I think it's going to come back to haunt Commissioner Goodell, because the things I've heard, obviously the NFL is more and more popular, every day. Their ratings, every season they go up. It's obviously the #1 show on television whenever it's on. The ratings are huge. The money is ridiculous, how much money the NFL is making. And Goodell says he wants to triple the NFL revenue and make it more than $25 billion a year within the next few years, which is possible. But, if the NFL keeps getting more and more wildly popular every year like it's been doing for the last 10, 20 years, that's possible. But I do see a potential monkey wrench being thrown into his plan. Things that I'm hearing is maybe, obviously you picture NFL football just being a man's thing, but about 35% of viewership and income comes from women. So I guess women are buying a lot of the jerseys and a lot of, all the NFL stuff, not only for, their brothers, fathers, boyfriends, husbands, whatever, but they buy it for themselves too. The NFL has a big line of, women's apparel, and not necessarily women buying themselves women's apparel. Women like NFL jerseys, the men's jerseys, and they look really good in them. So 35%. Now what happens if after this 2-game suspension, obviously there have been women's groups, and rightfully so, coming out with their disgust of the, I won't even say slap on the wrist, it wasn't even that harsh. And I don't blame them for being upset. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but what happens if the women's viewership, which is approximately 35% from things I'm hearing, obviously I don't know, But that's what I'm hearing. What happens if they decide they're not going to watch anymore? They're not going to go and buy the women's jerseys, the men's jerseys, the helmets, the footballs, whatever it is they're buying. What happens if they decide to boycott? Now, there's no way that's ever going to happen. 35% of them organizing all that. No, it's not going to happen. But what happens if a good portion of them somehow get together, with social media and, a lot of things going on? There are ways to get large groups together, in different ways that weren't available, 10, 20 years ago, whatever. I would think that might be the only way that you could get these kind of penalties to be harsher and stuff, if it starts to affect the bottom line. Because I think Roger Goodell was looking at green-colored glasses, the green being cash flow. And it could potentially hurt if women stop. If this is true, if they're responsible for about 35%, if women stop, watching the games and buying tickets to the games and buying the NFL apparel, maybe that's the only way that we can come up with decent punishment for this. But I'm really tired of this nonsense with these ignorant pieces of garbage, with their drugs, with their acting like morons at nightclubs, getting into fights, domestic violence, and whatever other, performance-enhancing drugs, all this other nonsense. Obviously, I'm not saying I'm giving up on sports, because I know, especially in baseball, the PED part of it is far less than it used to be. I think they're getting stricter in the NFL and the NBA and the National Hockey League. But obviously it's still out there. I'm not naive. And even though I'm tired of all this nonsense, I'm certainly not going to say, oh, I'm not watching football or baseball or basketball or hockey. Of course not. I'm not going to do that. And neither are the overwhelming majority of fans of those sports. But something has to be done. I was very disappointed when I heard only 2 games. I was thinking a minimum of 8 I would have been okay with. And certainly if they said, yeah, you're not playing in 2014, I would have been fine with that. These, ignorant pieces of crap, they have to realize there are going to be severe consequences. Now, they can't control the legal aspects of it. That's for the courts and the judges and all that kind of thing. But the commissioner of the NFL, if I were the commissioner, I'd be like, yeah, I'm not having any of this. You're gone for the entire year. And if for some reason I find out, that you're completely innocent, which I can't see how that's possible, just what I saw on the tape and what the world saw, well, then provisions will be made to do everything we can to fix that. But like I said, everything I saw, there is no way that he's completely innocent. And he needs to come down really hard on these knuckleheads that continue to break the law and beat up women and smoke the reefer and all this other stuff that these ignorant guys want to continue to do. And the only way to get them to stop is put their livelihood on the line. You keep doing this kind of nonsense, and the NFL is going to stand for it. Not for long, for you. So anyway, all right. I think, while I'm finished griping about the NFL, one last thing I want to definitely gripe about is the Hall of Fame voting in baseball, Major League Baseball, Hall of Fame voting. All right. Until just, I don't know if it was yesterday or today, once your career ended, you had the next 15 years, and every year they vote for the Hall of Fame, you had the next 15 years to be eligible for the Hall of Fame. And to be eligible, you have to get 75% of the vote from the writers. Okay. Well, they just lowered that to 10, so that's going to end up hurting guys, that have been on the ballot for the last, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. The Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa's, Roger Clemens, those kind of guys. And by the way, those guys are never getting in. The steroid users, all the PED users, forget it. They're never getting in. But here's my beef with that. I have no problem with them lowering the eligibility from 15 years to 10 years. Because I look at it this way. Whatever numbers the guy has that he's accumulated during his career, when his career is over, are they going to be different next year? Are they going to be different 5 years after he retires? Are they going to improve 10 years after he retires? I don't think so. Last I checked, whatever your stats are when you retire, those are the stats you're going to have for life. So I don't understand why, and I've actually heard writers say, well, I'm not going to vote for him on the first ballot. What the heck does that mean? In year 2, are his numbers going to be better? The reasons that you're not voting for him, are they going to change? How are they going to change? The numbers aren't going to change. So I look at it this way. I don't like the fact that just writers are the ones that vote. They never played the game, and they have a lot of biases. So I don't like that at all, because if they didn't like somebody personally, like maybe the guy wasn't great with the writer personally, or wasn't great with the media in general, there's nothing about you going into the Hall of Fame that said you had to be good with the media. That has nothing to do with what you did on the field. That's the only thing that should matter, what you did on the field. Now, I understand morals come involved. If you're a wife beater, things of that nature, that I can understand, because the Hall of Fame is like a hallowed hall. You don't want, some type of abuser or, whatever is going on with him that can negatively affect, the stature of the Hall of Fame. I understand that. But not because he wasn't good with the media, or he didn't want to talk to you, or he didn't like the questions that you asked him, or whatever. That should have nothing to do with what he did on the field. If he's a decent human being and what he did on the field is worthy, he deserves to be in. So I think that we should have Hall of Fame players, guys that have been there, done that, and have the t-shirt. They know what it's like, day in and day out, to be Major League Baseball players. Writers don't. They don't know. They watch the game on TV, or they sit in the press box. I'm not saying they don't know baseball at all. That's not what I'm saying. But they don't know baseball the way guys that played it, do. So why not have, every year, they had the Hall of Fame induction today, and all or at least most of the living Hall of Famers are sitting right behind them. Why don't they get the vote? Have them do it, and have some Hall of Fame coaches, guys that were on the field, coached these guys, played the game without all of these biases. Why don't they have that? Why don't they have the vote instead of these writers? I hate it. I really hate it. That's why I like what Dan Levertard did last year. He let the fans vote. Now, obviously, he didn't send in the ballot with just what the fans said. He looked it over too. But the fans had better ballots than the writers did. It's like, let me have a vote. I'll know if a guy belongs in the Hall of Fame right away. If he does, I'm going to put him in. I'm not going to put him in 2 years from now. I'm not going to put him in 5 years from now, or 10, or 12, or 15. If he's worthy of it, he goes in. If he's not, he doesn't, in my opinion. Now, you can disagree with my opinion, but how do you not vote for him 1 year and then vote for him the next? His career, his personality, everything is still exactly the same and will be exactly the same for eternity. So that's just stupid. There is no argument that you could come up with for not voting for somebody and then voting for somebody. That's stupid. I won't even listen to it. Either he's a Hall of Famer or he's not. And the way I look at it is, if I have to think about whether he's a Hall of Famer, I have to debate, I have to go back and forth, then the answer is no. Either he's a Hall of Famer or not. No thought about it. I look at guys that went in today. Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine, Frank the Big Hurt Thomas. Absolutely no doubt on all of them. They are all in immediately. How do people not vote for them? There has never been a 100% unanimous voted in Hall of Famer. I want to know who these people are that many years ago didn't vote for Hank Aaron, didn't vote for Willie Mays, Tom Seaver, Nolan Ryan. There were people that didn't vote for Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine, Tony Gwynn. There, way back in the day, Babe Ruth, Ted Williams. There were people that didn't vote for them. So that is so off the chart stupid. Even with my education, I don't know how these people aren't voted in. There are a few people that have gotten in that I can understand if some other people didn't think they would get in. Could have gone either way. But you should know in your mind immediately, he's a Hall of Famer in my mind, or he's not. First ballot as soon as he's available, no exceptions. But, the thing I want to do is, with all these morons who have never voted, guys that were so obviously Hall of Famers, it's ridiculous how obvious it was that they belong in there. There were guys that didn't vote for every Hall of Famer in existence. I want their names. I want their votes to be public. And I want to know why. Maybe it's none of my business. I don't want to hear about the privacy stuff. I mean, there is absolutely no logical reason. What could you say that Hank Aaron is not a Hall of Famer? Nothing. What can you say for Willie Mays, Nolan Ryan? Every Hall of Famer that has ever been voted in had people that did not vote for them. I want to hear what your reason is. I want your name. I want your ballot to be public. So you have to explain yourself how you didn't vote for Greg Maddux, one of the greatest pitcher not only of this generation but in the history of the game. What is it that made you not vote for him? Now, he got the second or third highest. I think it was 97.2% of the vote. I want to know who the 2.8% of the morons on the the voting staff or whatever it is. I want to know who those 2.8% morons are. I want to hear what they have to say. There's nothing they could say that would convince me that their reason is just, because it isn't. But I want it to be public. So they have to be ridiculed and explain how they don't vote incredibly obvious people into the Hall of Fame. So that's what I would do. Put a name to your vote. I don't want to hear, I'm not going to vote for him the first year or the first couple of times, maybe later. No. You're a Hall of Famer or you're not. Your stats are the same, your personality is the same, everything is the same forever. He's either a Hall of Famer or he isn't. Put your name on it, make it public. I want to be one of the Hall of Fame voters. I will be glad to make my votes public. I'll sing it from the highest mountaintop why I voted or didn't vote for somebody. I'll put my name to everybody. And I won't not vote for somebody now and 5 years from now say, yeah, he's worthy of my Hall of Fame vote. Because that is so stupid. I can't stand it. And, as I'm approaching my 48th birthday on August 13th, I think I'm getting crabbier and crabbier. I have less tolerance for ignorance and for stupid than I ever have. And some of the ignorance and stupid comes from supposedly intelligent, educated people. And there's a lot of ignorance out there. People are just no education, no common sense, because common sense doesn't seem to be very common. But let me get a vote. I will be glad to advertise every vote I made and why. And I think that the writers on this very important voting panel should have to do the same. But that's just my humble opinion. I'm opinionated. I have no problem telling people what I think. That's just the way I am. So, and at almost 48 years old, it's certainly not going to change now. So hopefully everybody can deal with it. If not, well, it's not going to change. So I guess we just won't get along if can't handle that. But anyway, all right, I did a lot of griping today. I think that's all I have. I'll give everybody a break out there. Thank you very much for listening. Follow me, Twitter, on Twitter and Facebook. You know how to get it on the YouTube, Sportsocology Show on YouTube. I appreciate you all listening. Have a terrific weekend, whatever you're doing. Go out and have a ball, or relax. If you've been working hard all week and you prefer to do that, relax, regain your energy. But thanks again for listening. I'll look forward to seeing you all on the radio next week. And I'll see you next time, America, wherever you are.